The EP Podcast. Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at theeppodcast.com.
The mayor of Evergreen Park and the head of District 124's curriculum selection on this program. Some very nice conversations and everything you need to know about this week in Evergreen Park, and it's all brought to you by the First National Bank of Evergreen Park. Get over there to 95th and Pulaski and get yourself a total access checking account, free ATMs nationwide, meaning whatever the fee is, they just put the money back in, making them all free no matter what the cost. $300 bonus with qualifying activities when you sign up for that account, and no overdraft charges. The mobile banking tools are easy. My kids have accounts over there. They use them. I have it with my business, my personal account, and they have award-winning customer service. In fact, it's like going into an old school bank. They wave at you. They know your name. You have a question, they take care of it. You're not sitting around trying to get an appointment for 2 weeks from next Tuesday. Again, 95th and Pulaski. Stop in and see them today. The First National Bank of Evergreen Park, member FDIC. Sitting down here at the 9-foot homemade oak bar, one of our favorite guests here on the EP podcast, Mayor Kelly Burke. How are you?
I am fantastic. Happy New Year, Chris.
Happy New Year.
Thanks for having me again.
Oh, you are always welcome. Can I mention it? Can I talk about it? I'm going to a gala.
We are going to a gala, yes.
I've never been invited to a gala. You've got a contingent from Evergreen Park going to this gala that's going to be down at the Field Museum. I was fortunate enough to be invited to it. I see it's black tie. I'm probably going to have to go out and get a tux. You already told me, like, oh, you don't need one. I'm like, oh, I'm going all out.
I mean, if you want to go full glitz.
I've never gone gala before. I've never gone full on at one of these things, so I think I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah, so it's the little company Crystal Heart Ball.
Okay.
I am a member of the, I think they call it the Community Advisory Board for Little Company. So I'm putting together a table. So you, along with your sidekick, Frank Murray, and his significant other are going to be there, along with some other, our clerk, Kelly Duffy, and her husband, my husband, Terry, and then a couple neighborhood folks. And we are going to have a good time.
That's awesome.
Field Museum, get to wander around,
I cannot
all dressed
wait.
up.
I cannot wait.
Yeah.
It's awesome. I've never been invited to a gala before. And then when the mayor sends you a text like, will you come to a gala? I was like, yes. I was like, how do I say no to that? I didn't even know what my plans were. I was going.
We're going to have a good time.
Awesome. I cannot wait.
And support a good cause.
Yes.
And I'll interject also that they have an honoree every year. It's the Mary Potter Humanitarian Award, I believe. And the winner, I don't want to steal any thunder from OSF, but is Jerry Nealon and the Christmas Without Cancer crew. So it's a local group that's being honored, which makes it doubly nice.
That's really cool. Very cool. Awesome. So you're dressed up today. Those that will get to see
I will be more dressed up at the gala.
Oh, I'm sure you will be. I'm sure you will be. Those that will view the video that will come out later on this week or see anything on social media will see that you're dressed up today, and you gave an address. At the time that we're recording this, you did your State of the Village address already at one of the senior luncheon that is every...
Senior Council luncheon.
All right, so what was the highlight there? Like, what were people buzzing about after you spoke? Because I know after you're done, people get up. Some of them get up and say nice things. Some of them get up and say, I got this problem and I got to tell you about it. Some of them get up and they're just excited about something you said. So what was the buzz after you finished it?
Well, it was all positive, which is good.
Good.
And one gentleman wanted to learn more about this tree trimming initiative that we've got going on. We're in our third year of it. So we have decided, this is, I think, the third year we're doing it, where we are breaking the village down in a grid and doing a section of the grid each summer, trimming all the trees, because it's the number one request for service that we get is tree trimming. And it's hard for us just, with the one crew we have that can do it and the one piece of equipment to get out and get to all these tree trimming requests. And so we dedicated some dollars. We have we put it out for bid. A contractor comes and does it, and they do a section at a time, and they'll do every tree within that section. And so we've got, over the past 2 years, we've completed the entire northeast quadrant. So that's all done. This summer, it'll move on to the southeast quadrant, the east half of the southeast quadrant. And, we'll still try and accommodate requests for trims outside of the specific grid section. But the idea is that over a period of years, you're getting every tree. And so you're eliminating the calls for service. And now you're only down to, like more emergency situations.
Because I'm on 99th and I see tree trimming.
We had all the main streets done.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I see that all the time. Sometimes I feel like not only are you guys trimming them, but when the electrical company comes along, they trim around because they don't want anything hitting the line. So I see tree trimmers constantly on the street that I'm on. But what you're talking about is when the villages, are helping out on the side streets.
Yeah. So we also, as part of the first wave, we did all the tree, and these are parkway trees. We're obviously not going into folks' backyards.
Right.
So these are all parkway trees. So we did all the trees on California, Central Park, 91st, and 99th 2 years ago. So those all got a good facelift. So.
Very cool. All right, Evergreen Park. You plant trees. I know that Gavin's
you got to take care of them.
Gavin's been in here before where you're adding trees, and he's talked about the idea that there's a certain amount they'll put in every year, and they take care of the trees that are sitting there between the sidewalk and the street. And now we got the tree trimming initiative.
So trees are a piece of infrastructure, and they obviously have a lot of benefits. But like anything else, once you put it in, you also have to take care of it. So that's what we're working on too. And we did also. We try to plant 100 trees a year. We were able to plant 200 this year. We went for a grant through the Morton Arboretum, and that gave us, we won it, and it was enough to double the amount of trees we planted.
Okay, awesome. All right, so the rest of the speech, what were you excited about? What was the thing? They were excited about the trees, but you had to have something you were like, this is my keynote thing that I'm throwing in there.
I am excited about two things which are interrelated. One is that we continue to have robust business development.
Got a bunch of new ones that have come in.
We have a bunch of new ones.
We've had a few of them on the show in the last couple of weeks. You keep giving me content by bringing in these businesses.
I've heard, and it's really nice because they're locally owned small businesses. We've had some great success with bigger businesses. We had Macy's, we had Subaru, we had J. Crew. I mean, those are all name brand, and those are wonderful, and we love them. But now we've had some great success this year with bringing in small businesses. In a couple of cases, they're owned by village residents. So village residents investing their money where they live and trying to create, a retail community that is going to benefit are going to benefit the residents of our village. Obviously, we're going to have visitors from all over, but it's really kind of enhances kind of the walk to feeling that people really seem to like. So
I know that the last two I had, one family lived down the block from where they opened, and the other one had an apartment above the place where they were at. So I mean, like they're literally living right there by the business. They care so much about it, and the comments that they both made was how easy it was to work with the village. I mean, I always get the feeling when I talk with people who are trying to figure out where to open their business that they may have looked at other locations outside of Evergreen Park. I mean, if you're going to invest all this money and try to figure out, where's the best storefront, you're not just going to look at one place. And they always, without me even asking, rave about how easy it is and how attentive the village is. It's clearly still a focus for you.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's, this is our bread and butter. Not only does it bring in oftentimes sales tax revenue, which is helpful, to help us provide things that our residents need and want. But, you're creating an atmosphere, an environment that is thriving, and it, and hopefully will drive other businesses to want to open up if they see that there's a thriving community. So the two you're speaking about are the record shop.
Yes.
And then also La Michoacana.
Yes.
De Daniel. My accent is absolutely terrible.
No. I'm glad you said it because I screwed it up even in the interview.
And they are the nicest family, and the kids are EP high school students, and they work the counter, and the mom is making all the ice cream and the fruit treats, and it's just a real family business. And they were a joy to work with.
I think they're going to do really well. I think both them and the record shop are both going to do well. I mean, I've been in, those are the most recent ones that have been on. Yeah. I know that there's new ownership over at the car wash on 95th, Wash U. We haven't talked to them yet, but I'm hoping to as well. There's another place, a Cheesemate. I'm hoping to stop by tomorrow to set up a future one with them. Have you been in there yet?
I have been in there. So the concept for Cheesemate is Korean hot dogs, which was not on my radar. But it turns out...
I didn't even know that was a thing.
It is a thing.
Okay.
And if you asked your kids... Because I asked my kids, and they're like, "Yeah, Mom, Korean hot dogs. Come on, get with it." And I was not with it. And then some folks in our office were telling us like they love it and their kids love it. And when she goes to New York,
I'm like you.
It is. So I don't want to spoil the surprise.
Don't spoil.
But when you go, so I have gone there, and it's really nicely done. And it's kind of they have a ordering kiosk, almost looks like a little robot. I went with the boba tea.
Okay.
I will just say I was not getting a full meal, so I went with the boba tea, which was delicious.
And boba tea was something I just learned about, but that was something I got from one of my children.
Yeah.
My 9-year-old.
Yeah.
Wanted to get boba tea, and I was like, I don't know what the heck you're talking about.
So there's a chain. I guess it's a nationwide chain, but there's numerous in the Chicago area. One is at the Chicago Ridge Mall, but there's one down near UIC. There's one right outside Chinatown. It's called Kong Dog.
Okay.
And if you like, that is the one that seems to be prevalent. This is a standalone, independent one, but it's like the same concept.
Something to definitely try out.
Yeah,
you talked about some of the bigger named stores. I read in the patch maybe a week ago about how Macy's is downsizing, but Evergreen is not one of the places they're leaving because they're keeping the places that are doing strong business, and that's always a big spot over there along Western.
Yep.
We've talked with large business owners over there. I've talked with people that are trying to start chains. There's a lot of people that pick that location because of the cross section of different types of people that come in there and how well Evergreen will work with a new business, that it's always like a good experimental ground, and it's a place a lot of people like to move into.
Yeah, and the most recent addition to the plaza was Club Pilates.
We were there. We were there too. Yeah,
I've taken numerous classes there. But the owner, it's her third Club Pilates franchise. She's got one in she's kind of all over Barrington and somewhere else, and she lives further south in the suburbs. And they are thrilled with the reception that they've gotten and the number of people coming and taking classes, and it's a beautiful facility.
Yeah.
So that's the newest one. We continue to work with the owners of the plaza to, they've got David's Bridal.
Okay.
The whole chain had gone into bankruptcy, so that store has been closed. I know they are working diligently on a retailer to come in there. Can't say much more. Hopefully it all comes together.
You hear who it is though, right? That's the thing.
I've heard who it is.
You get the heads up on these things, but you're like, I don't want to screw up the deal, and I don't want to get somebody's hopes up and then it doesn't happen.
And what you find with commercial real estate is everything takes a real long time.
Yeah.
A lot of things start, they get to letters of intent, but then they never get to, the full. So you can't get too invested in the beginning of the process because, just experience shows a lot of these, kind of fall apart. But then once they get to, let's say, stage 2, then it's a lot more serious, and then you really start to get involved. So they've got somebody looking at that David's Bridal space very seriously, and then another food concept that I would be thrilled to have. I hope it comes to fruition.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's interesting too. We talk about how you kind of know where things are going. There have been times where I've been kind of told, we think this is coming, or we think that a lot of the ones we've mentioned so far were ones that I heard about before you started seeing them start to do things. It looks like you are converting more than you're not converting on these ones that are in progress. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. And I mean, we have a pretty good track record. We try and work with folks. Like there is at 95th and Francisco, the old 79th Street Barbecue.
Yes.
There is another...
Which was not there that long.
It was there for a couple of years.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, but it went through COVID.
Maybe the fact that I don't remember it being there that long is one of the reasons why I wasn't there for that long.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't have it. But there's two residents who are neighbors, and they are doing bar restaurant that also has a focus on board games.
Okay.
And they've got a whole business plan. It looks really great. They are in there now doing the construction. I haven't seen it, since, they started the construction, but if you see trucks and work going on at that location, that's what it is.
That'll be a nice place.
That will be a nice place. They've got great plans.
Yeah.
And, not every young person wants to go to a bar, but they want to get together and be social. There's this, young adults, but also kids. They envision that you'll be able to rent like their side room for a birthday party, and it would be board games. They're envisioning tournaments of some sort. I don't know what the games are, but it sounds like a really cool concept. So we've watched that moving along, and hopefully it's going to get over the finish line soon.
All right. So we've talked business. Anything else that popped up inside of that speech that you gave today you want to go over?
Well, so this is related to the business, is because we've done a lot of business development, and we've had some really good sales tax revenue numbers. We, the board and myself, decided that we were going to eliminate village vehicle stickers.
Right.
So for a typical Evergreen household, that's a household with 2 cars, at $35 per sticker, that's $70. So we decided, let's get rid of that. Our business community is bringing in these dollars. Let's take the burden as much as we can off the homeowner. And so that's what we did. So, we messaged that through, I think we talked about it on the show before. We talked about
it. You've put it on the emails. You still have people showing up trying to get them.
Or nervous. Did I miss getting the vehicle stickers?
Right.
And so, as time has gone on, that, it's the news has trickled down, but we really did put it out every single place we could.
You did. You guys were on my show multiple times talking about it. It's still the number of people
who didn't hear it, so hopefully there will never be a hurricane here and we have to evacuate, because I think half the people are going to miss the evacuation.
Otherwise, it sounds like everything's going very smoothly.
It is going very smoothly. It was a good year.
To kind of get off topic, just real quick, I'll just make a quick note. Like here in my neighborhood, I was thinking about this the other day. I went by that development that I remember a couple years ago that you were talking about, where the townhomes, and what is that? That's 98th, just to the west of Kedzie, and it looks beautiful.
Yeah,
like it seems like they're getting close to being completed, all of them, but it looks gorgeous.
I think they're in. I don't know how many phases they are, but they, if you go by now, they're it'll be under roof.
Is that satisfying to you? Like when you see everything from the beginning to the end, and you go through the whole process sometimes when it's going to be like a change is being made, or it's introducing something new to a community, or even the business development. When you get to the end, is it kind of fun to go to the unveiling or to drive by that and say,
really
this is what I thought it was going to be, and I'm glad it turned out this way, because, I want to be, you don't want to say I told you so to people.
No.
But it is it's got to be gratifying to sit there and say, look, this worked out.
It is really it is gratifying to see a project go from beginning to end and see it turn out successfully. And, in regard to the townhouses, I've met most of the people who have moved in, and they're all retirees who had big houses, and that
was the vision, wasn't it?
They wanted to be close to their.
That was the thing. You were like, there are going to be people that want to downsize in size in terms of how much is there. They want to be in Evergreen. They want to be near grandchildren. They're probably going to be mostly retirees moving in there. And I remember that was one of the pitches a couple of years ago.
And that's what everybody I've met so far. I don't know if I've met every single resident in there, but that's the profile.
You have to say that just in case a rock band.
Right, and somebody said you didn't stop by, but they're thrilled to be living in Evergreen Park.
That's awesome.
They and one or two actually are Evergreen Parkers who downsized, but the others are I think all from Chicago, Beverly, and Mount Greenwood. But anyway, they just really enjoy living here, and that is gratifying too, to have somebody say, we're so glad we moved here, and we run into that when we deliver those bags, with the Chamber of Commerce, people who are just happy that they moved here.
Yeah,
it's really good. One other thing, big development this year was that our longtime clerk Kathy Aparo retired.
Yes,
and every time I see her, she has a grin. An enormous grin on her face, And she just seemed.
I love this. We've been getting updates. We had young Jim Sexton give us an update on older Jim Sexton, the former mayor, on the last show. So we're getting updates on people lately.
Both of them are doing just great. And so good for them, because obviously they both dedicated, the lion's share of their careers to the people of Evergreen Park. They deserve a nice retirement, but it's good to see them both thriving. But we were able to look inward to a village resident who had also started at OCS, the Office of Citizen Services, as a part-time employee, and she rose through the ranks and just kept taking on more responsibility. And when Kathy was ready to retire, we looked to her to take over, and that's Kelly Duffy.
Yes, who's been on here before.
Yes, and she's just been great. And it's also, gratifying to see somebody, an employee who you invested, some time and energy, and who also, put themselves forward and took on the extra responsibilities, and to see them thrive. So that's been great too.
That's awesome. Yeah. Sounds like things are going good.
Things are going good.
Awesome. Great to hear. Okay. Well, then that's all we got left now is a gala, right?
All we have left.
All we got left is a gala.
Yeah.
First gentleman going?
The first gentleman is going.
Awesome. He's fun. I like hanging out with him.
He doesn't dance though, so
Is there dancing?
Oh, there's dancing.
I gotta dance?
No, you don't have to dance, but
okay.
There is dancing.
All right, there's dancing. Yeah. I can't wait to see this. After it's done, I'll give everybody a report on the EP podcast. Mayor Kelly Burke, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Building relationships, supporting the community, and service. These are the things that Country Financial stands for. They're more than just an office you may pass by as you drive through Evergreen Park. They're neighbors who lend a helping hand and support the fabric of your community, including charitable organizations, sports, financial education, and civic organizations. And since Country is already your neighbor, they want to get together and chat. Call your local Country Financial representative, Mike Thauer, today at 708-425-1559 to talk about the things that are important to you and how he can help you protect them. It is now time for your repeat podcast, Word on the Street, brought to you by Spoken Vine Wine Bar and Bottle Shop, northeast corner of 95th and Kedzie, with an incredible array of wines. They also have craft beers that are local to the area, great small plates, a 21 and over establishment with wine club benefits and all kinds of special events. See it all at SpokenVineWines.com. Speaking of wines, Sip and Sample is coming to the Evergreen Park Public Library on February the 22nd, but now is the time to get in there and reserve your spot. Looks like about half of the spots have already been sold at $40 per person. Food samples, beer and wine samples, live music, split the pot, prize baskets. It's like Taste of Chicago, but it's really for this area at the library. See more at evergreenparklibrary.org. And coming up on Saturday, January 25th, Evergreen Park Recreation Department Candlelight Theater presents Candlelight Cabaret, a vocal concert with wine and appetizer reception. Kicks off at 7 p.m. with $22 tickets for adults, seniors and students $20 at the Evergreen Park Senior Center at 9547 South Homan. Tickets on sale at the Community Center, 3450 West 97th Street. Sitting down here at the 9-foot homemade oak bar, we have a guest from District 124 who handles things district-wide. Ashley Carlson is here. How are you, Ashley?
I am doing really well this morning. How are you?
Good. You were excited to come here, and you came out during the blizzard of last week.
I did. I trudged through your snow. We're doing well.
You pulled up, and I was trying to shovel in advance.
You were.
And you beat me, but luckily you brought your snow boots. Okay,
yep, absolutely.
Clearly excited to be here. And can't wait to talk about what you do, which is interesting. I think we've had somebody from the high school in the last couple of months that did something similar or talked about this curriculum.
Yep.
And there's a lot of parents that have kids at all the District 124 schools or might be having kids that are going there who are probably very interested in this. So take me through what you do. Essentially, you pick the classes, because to me, like in the grammar school level, like what variations are there, right? I mean, math is still math, right? Like English is still English. Like what are you actually looking to do, and what do you actually tweak from year to year?
Absolutely. So I like to say that I feel like I have the funnest job in the district. I handle all things teaching and learning, which is really what we do every day in school systems. And that's kind of what I get to oversee. So I work really closely with the teachers, and one of the most important things that we do is provide them with the tools that they need to do the work. So they are on the front lines every day teaching students, and we need to make sure that the materials that they have are highly rated, aligned to our standards, and are doing what we need them to do. So we really look at our math curriculum and our ELA and our science and social studies and ensure that those things are doing what's necessary.
See, and right away I got to translate for anybody that's listening or watching.
Oh, no.
ELA is English Language Arts, right?
English Language Arts.
I never get that too. Like when we were kids in school, it was like it's time to go to English class.
Yep.
Now it's like it's time to go to ELA, and you're like, what? Huh?
Yep.
Right.
ELA really encompasses everything from your reading, your writing, your grammar. All of those necessary pieces are all kind of under the umbrella of English Language Arts.
So how often do you have to change the books? Because you know, like I said, math is still math, even though I know there's different ways that they teach it now. And it was funny when they went to the new math, what is it, the core math, whatever it is, and I remember when my kids came home with it, I got it. Because that's how I thought, because I sucked at math when I was younger, and I was doing it like that in my head. So I was like, oh, wait. I get this, right? I know a lot of parents didn't, but my brain worked in that way. Yeah, so I kind of got it. But besides that major change, which I think anybody from our generation will look back at and say something massive happened in the way that they taught math, they're not really changing what adverbs are, right? No. Like there's a lot of things. So how often do you actually have to change over the books and the materials? Because a lot of that stuff is evergreen.
We're constantly evolving and changing and looking at things. I would say this is my 4th year here, and when I started, there were just some things that really needed to be adjusted. So for example, math specifically, we were running 3 separate math curriculums in grades K to 8. So that meant that every couple of years, students were changing to a completely different curriculum, which really set them back. As they changed, there is different verbiage that's used, strategies are taught differently, everything. And when that changes over for them so frequently, it makes it really hard. So that was the first thing that we tackled, and we recognized that we needed consistency across all of our grade levels. So we adopted one math curriculum with a lot of feedback from our teachers and our families and everything. We piloted, we looked at all of these things, and we adopted one math curriculum. And we have seen tremendous growth just from that one change. Again, math is math. The things that you're doing are what you're doing, but really we're looking for more conceptual understanding. Like you said that you sucked at math.
I was terrible.
I just would disagree, because I would say you were a math thinker naturally. You understood.
Yeah, my grades didn't call it that.
Yes,
though. Like,
maybe
that was
not.
the thing. Like in grammar school, I mean, I got good grades in grammar school. Don't get me wrong. Like I wanted to build roller coasters. Look at what I did up instead. I was looking at being an engineer, and then I went to college, and I was like, yeah, I can't do this. So my brain just did not work for that kind of thing, and then I became a broadcaster. But I find it interesting. You get everybody on board. You know, that's easier said than done. If you had one school, then I'd be like, okay, we're going to get all the math teachers in this school on board. That may be difficult. You have 4 grammar schools and you have Central Middle School.
Yep.
There has to be pushback. Like there have to be people that sit there and go, I've been doing it this way for 30 years.
Yeah.
You're out of your mind. So how do you do that? Because like I know teachers, and I'm not going to throw any of them under the bus, right? They're wonderful. The teachers are, luckily we have them. If we didn't have them, we'd all be in trouble. But I've known some who are like, yep, they're doing this differently, and I don't like it, and so like I'm still going to kind of do it this. Like you have to run into that. So what do you do when you run into that kind of thing?
And I know that people probably say it all the time. I would say that one thing that Dr. Woodland and I, and as a district team and an admin team, we genuinely value the teacher's voice. And I say that with all sincerity. And we recognize.
I've heard your teacher say it, so I believe you. That's the thing. Like I've heard your teacher say it to me, so I believe you. Yes.
We recognize that they are on the front lines. They're the ones working with kids. And so I think that their opinion matters very deeply. And so I think that so often they just want to be heard, and they want to make sure that we understand what they're going through and what their experiences are, and how they are interpreting this curriculum. I think part of the big piece is piloting things, and seeing what works. So for math, like I said, we had 3 programs that were being run when I started. Only one of them was really highly rated and really aligned to standards, and we heard that from the teachers. So everybody was very quick to get on board with that one, which was refreshing and nice. That one was kind of an easy shift. Our shift to ELA the next year, we piloted things, and we had differing opinions, and we really worked through those through conversations and problem solving and all of those important steps along the way, and we're able to come to consensus.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. You had to work it out. It's interesting what you're talking about in terms of the continuing education and working with the teachers. You're the person that when there's a day off, there's a late start, there's something like that, and you're teaching the teachers. You're the teacher of the teachers. Is that the best way to kind of explain that?
I think we're all learning from each other,
okay.
but yes, I think that that was one thing that was really interesting. Dr. Woodland has a parent advisory committee, which is fabulous, and we're able to bring parents together once a month and have conversations around a lot of different things. And at last month's meeting, someone asked specifically about late starts. And, we take all of these late starts. What are teachers doing, during that time?
It's a big party. It's a big party. It's wind down Wednesday.
Yes,
That's it.
And it was interesting to me, and we really need to do a better job of communicating that out. What are teachers doing that time? Because it is often an inconvenience for parents and families to, have to shift their schedules on Wednesdays. But we really do get so very little time with teachers when they're not teaching. They're teaching all day with kids. And so to have that time to do things like professional development and to look at student work and to have some of these meetings, and that's when our principals do their staff meetings. So we're going to post kind of what that schedule is for our teachers so that families can see that. But I really stress that is such valuable time that we use to the max every single week. We are 4 elementaries that feed into 1 middle school. And so even just having time where we can get all of our 3rd grade teachers together in a room to meet and discuss how things are going, what's working, what's not working. Oftentimes that's during late starts. And so that time is really valuable. And that's part of what falls under teaching and learning, is really kind of coordinating all of that work.
I like how you describe that. That's very interesting to me. 4 schools that feed into 1 central middle school, and the idea that all the 3rd grade teachers from 4 schools sometimes have to get together. I think a lot of times people look at the 4 schools and think of them as very different schools. They're in different quadrants. They have different names. There are different principals. But what you're trying to do is keep things as uniform as possible, because when you get them to the 6th grade, right, is where they started Central, you want them all to be like, this is how I learned it. We all learned it the same way, and now we can all seamlessly move into that grade.
Yep, and that's one of the things that we recognized, too, just coming into Evergreen Park, is the importance of that, and the importance of making sure that there's equity amongst all of those elementary schools. All of those experiences should be the same.
Right, like Northwest shouldn't be behind Southwest.
Correct.
Like they should all be equal. Like, you shouldn't be sitting there saying, well, if only I lived over here, it would be better because that school's better. Right. The idea is they should all be on equal footing.
Yes, and we want to make sure that when they come into 6th grade, we shouldn't have maybe one school that, I know that this student is from Southeast because they're strong in math. Or I know this student is from Northwest because they're really good writers. We want, everybody has different strengths and weaknesses, and we want to spread the good amongst all of the buildings and make sure that a student going into Central is as highly equipped no matter what district or what building they're coming from.
You mentioned the parent advisory board. Do the parents talk to you about curriculum? Is it something where you'll get one or several who will sit there and say, we don't like this, or we'd like this added, or we'd like this taken out? And how much of a voice do they have?
I would say what really strikes me on this is when we had our, like I said, our strategic planning meetings back when Dr. Woodland had started that first year, and curriculum was one of the things that we talked extensively about during those meetings with a lot of community members, and their voice really matters. And one of the things that we did hear over and over at that meeting was the frustration with the math and the frustration with, them learning it one way and then switching to something else, and then they're having to learn something different. So that their voice does count in that way. And then also her parent advisory committee, one of the topics that we are going to be talking about is curriculum. Most recently, we talked a lot about our social emotional learning curriculum and how we are really focusing on that.
I have no idea what that is, so you're going to have to explain it to me. Social emotional learning.
Yep. I specifically said social emotional learning because, of course, in education, we have to use acronyms. So in my head, I was thinking SEL. But
right, and I would have just looked at you like you had three heads. That's the one thing. Like, I've been doing this show now. We're coming up on 7 years here in May. When you speak to somebody from District 124, it's nothing but acronyms.
Yes.
It's nothing but just letters put together.
All education
they speak in acronyms. I laugh about it.
Big nerds, and we play fun games like acronym bingo and, name that acronym and all of those things.
All right, so SEL.
Yes.
What is that?
Social emotional learning.
Yeah.
Yep. We know that kids have big needs right now when it comes to understanding how they're feeling and their emotions and their mental health and all of those things. So social emotional learning really goes through things like, what does it mean to be a good friend? How can you show empathy to your peers? It covers things like bullying and really ensuring that they are in a safe space when they're at school and that they are working with others around them in a positive way. So
isn't that nice?
I mean,
we didn't have that when I was a kid. When you had a conflict when I was a kid, you just went up to the tracks and you fought next to the trains.
Yes.
This is a very different thing.
Why we're doing social emotional learning.
When I was in the 4th grade, you worked out your stuff up at the tracks while the Grand Trunk Railroad went by while I was going to St. Denis Grammar School over there by 83rd and St. Louis. You just fought at the tracks.
Right. We're trying to avoid that.
You're avoiding the fights at the tracks.
At all costs. So, doing some social emotional learning.
Builds character.
Yes.
But also, I'm a little messed up. So, it's probably better that you got the
things
SEL.
Like use your words and
use
like
your
that.
words. That would have been nice. That would have been nice using your words. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, well, now I understand what that is. All right, before I let you go.
Absolutely.
Are you at the point now? Is this a time of year when you're trying to figure out if you want to add or subtract something for next year? And is there anything right now that's kind of bubbling in your brain?
Right now, I would say something I'm most excited about is the work that we're doing at Central Middle School. And, we have, like I said, adopted the math program there, and we have seen tremendous growth when it comes to math. For our ELA there, we've aligned with the high school, and they use what's called Springboard for all of their pre-AP work and their AP classes. And so we've also adopted Springboard at middle school for our English language arts programs. We're really piloting something called Open SciEd, which is a science program that is aligned to all of the national science standards. And the work that I'm seeing in the science classrooms is something that I'm really most excited about.
That's big. I mean, look, I have two kids that have gone through. I have one out as a junior in high school and one that's in college. But I remember when they got to that point where they were leaving 8th grade, they were taking entrance exams maybe because some kids go into schools where they take exams, or they're getting placed over at Evergreen Park Community High School because they both took that test as well. And there was a little bit of a lapse in the sciences. That was the one thing they commented on. I was not as good at that as what I thought I should have been at that. And that seemed to be the weak point for both of them.
Yeah.
And it was like everything else really strong. Science seemed to be the thing. So to hear that you're working on new ways of doing science is interesting.
And science is really, the shift in the standards really has gone away from fact-based. Like, we know, I shouldn't
We
say
just make up the science now.
No, not what I mean. But you can Google a lot of those different things. Like, are, the work in science now is more around how can we create scientific thinkers? Like, how can they see something as a problem and then use the scientific knowledge that they can get anywhere, whether it's from a book or whether it's from a website or whatever. Where can they use that information to then form their hypothesis and solve their problem?
Right, and teach and almost kind of teach them where to go look for it too.
And
because
what
here's
are
the thing,
reliable
you're not going to get your best science advice from a reel on TikTok.
No,
okay,
exactly.
Some of that's made up.
Yes,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But solving problems and critical thinking is a skill.
Yeah.
And that is really what science is really trying to teach them now. So I would say if you're going into one of our CMS classrooms, you're going to see a lot more of the hands-on and the problem solving and the looking at, why I was in one and it was talking about forces and things and why when, you drop your cell phone, is it shattering and what does that mean and how does that happen and different things like that. So students are engaged, they're having excellent conversations around science and really doing some critical thinking. So it's exciting.
Ashley Carlson, she is working on the curriculum for your kids out there and teaching the teachers, and was nice enough to come out in a blizzard to sit here and tell us all about it. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
It's the EP Podcast. All things Evergreen Park. It's the EP Podcast. Evergreen Park.